this guy sits beside me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can feel his energy. He wants to talk.
He wants to have
me.
a conversation.
And I'm like, I'm not ready for this.
No
I'm not
extroverts
I'm
on planes
not,
at 5
do you know what
a.m.
I mean? And I would
Not the
say
one.
I could be an extrovert, you know. And then he like turns around and he asks me a question. And then like kind of somewhere within the conversation, I was like, okay. He's literally asking me to tell him about Jesus. Like he's literally, he's so ready for it.
Hello and welcome back to Unscripted. Guys, it's our final episode of the season. I can't. But welcome back to Unscripted, where we have honest conversations about culture, faith, and everything else in between. Today, I am so excited. We're ending the season with a bang, guys. We've got Maureen Moores here with us. I will definitely intro her in a second, but I also need to share about my colleague friend, Tim. He's lovely. He's here with us today, representing cis white men in this conversation about fashion and faith and God.
The underrepresented voice in the podcast universe.
But Maureen, can you tell us a little bit more about who you are and how you found yourself to be on this episode today?
Yeah, hi, my name's Maureen.
Hi.
I'm Irish, the accent, you know.
Love it.
And yeah, I guess I'm a creative and, you know, we kind of like found each other on Instagram and here I am,
I
basically.
love this so much.
What do you create?
Yeah.
I say I'm a creative because I basically have just gotten back into creativity. I was a pastor for a little bit, and as of, I guess, like this year, I do content creation and I also do choreography on the site. Yeah, you didn't know that, did you, Tim?
No, we didn't know this.
Yeah.
Okay,
Love
so
that.
Maureen is trying to be humble. What she's trying to say is she's legit a Christian influencer.
I mean,
One,
no,
she loves the Lord.
I do.
Two, she has a bajillion followers on Instagram. Three, she's extremely stylish. Look at this outfit. And I think that's really, really fascinating. We're going to have a great conversation around how to share our faith without losing our friends, without alienating our followers. And maybe we'll even have time to delve into how to stay human in an inhuman system, what it's like to navigate social media as a Christian, as a content creator. Exciting stuff coming up this episode, guys. I'm jazzed about it. Tim,
Yes.
kicking it right off. Have you ever shared your faith and lost a friend?
I thought you were going to comment on how stylish my outfit was.
Oh, we've already
It's
commented
great,
on your skin,
you know.
Tim. Do you know what I mean? You can't have it all.
I have had some bad experiences of sharing my faith.
Wow.
And I think, as I reflect on it, lots of those bad experiences were in large part because I had bad reasons for sharing my faith to start with. So I was leading a student ministry around the early 2010s and was gung-ho, full of energy, just wanted to kind of prove myself and do well. And I took seriously all of those affirmations and exhortations that we've heard from sermons, podcasts, and even read in the Bible that
Give me an
you've got to
example.
be filled with the Spirit.
Yep.
You've got to be on fire for the Lord.
Okay.
You've got to be bold and courageous, like the apostles were in Acts 2-3-4, like those North Koreans are. Why aren't you like them? Look, they're suffering.
So
why aren't you out on
true.
campus just like sharing your faith in such a lovely environment?
Yeah.
You should feel guilty for that.
Yeah.
And the only way to stop yourself feeling guilty about this thing that I've just made you feel guilty about is to go and do it and try really hard. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try really hard and win everyone's favour by doing it.
Okay.
So I remember during a cold February morning, standing outside Hallwood Library at the university where my ministry was based, and accosting students, mostly smokers outside the library,
accosting.
with surveys, spiritual surveys that we were doing. We were genuinely surveying people, asking them about what their kind of religious faith beliefs were. Now, the problem with this survey was that the first question was, as you would expect, kind of what's your name, what course are you doing, what year are you on? And somehow, within 9 moves, the 10th question was, if you died today, why should God let you into heaven?
Oh, no.
And I don't know how we got so
How did you
far.
get away with that question on
Well,
a
I didn't get away
survey?
with it. That was the problem. Because that question, and at first it felt like a bit of a gotcha question because we were doing surveys about what people believed, and it just felt like we were sneaking that one in, like this little kind of left hook right at the end. And secondly, it I didn't feel actually like, now I reflect on it, I don't feel like it was a question that people could ever have a good answer to, unless they said Jesus and then passed the test.
Yeah.
That was it. That was the only answer I was looking for. And I got very good actually at the time at deconstructing whatever answer people would give me. And I got very good at arguing a position, and I got very good at explaining to people why whatever reason they had given to the question that I had asked them, as honest as that was for them, why that was wrong and why they needed to do something about it. And basically what happened repeatedly was that I won loads of arguments and I lost loads of people.
Oof.
I'm so glad you know that now.
I do.
You know?
I learned it the hard way. And I just like to publicly apologise to everyone
Well done.
who ever interacted with me in one of those moments.
What a deep
I've been on a journey with this.
I won loads of arguments, but I lost a load of people. This is true. I want to ask Maureen the same question, but I'm already like rearing to go, like my bugbears about this, but let's pause.
Let's hear some stories.
Yeah. Maureen, have you shared your faith and lost a friend?
Yeah, I wouldn't say like lost a friend. I feel like this morning I was, because I'm from Dublin, we're in London right now. I was getting a very early. I did. Really early flight, like as in like I left my house at like 5:30.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe 5:50 actually. Anyways, and really early.
Yeah.
And I was so tired. And to be honest, the last thing on my mind was to share Jesus with anyone. Like I actually didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
And then I was on the flight and I'm like, okay, cool, we made it. I had a curler in my hair, like no makeup on, like whatever. And then this guy sits beside me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can feel his energy. He wants to talk.
He was
to
having
me.
a conversation.
And I'm like, I'm not ready for this.
No
I'm not
extroverts
I'm
on planes at 5
You know
a.m.
what I mean? And I would
Not the
say
one.
I could be an extrovert, you know. And then he like turns around and he asks me a question. And then like kind of somewhere within the conversation, I was like, okay. He's literally asking me to tell him about Jesus. Like he's literally, he's so ready for it.
Okay.
And so I'm like, okay, he's asking me all these questions. And then I'm like, okay, cool. And he's like, so what do you do? And I'm like,
wow,
okay,
let me tell you.
Do you know what I mean? So I was like, oh yeah. So now I continue. He's like, oh yeah, I could tell you're creative. And then I was like, and I used to be a pastor. And he was just like, oh, and then I was like, sick. He's going to want to know more. I was like, he used to be a pastor. That was the end of the conversation. That was it. That was done.
He didn't ask any more follow-up questions?
No.
Well, just the P word.
Literally, yeah.
Shut that down.
Wow. I was like, okay, sick, yeah.
Oh.
And then I just curled up in a ball and just enjoyed the rest of my 40-minute flight.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Well, at least you got that introvert time you were after.
That's
Do you know what
true.
I mean? I was like, cool. But yeah, it was like, yeah, it was really...
Shut down. Did not care.
And I worked myself up because I was tired.
You were ready. You're like, this is my moment, Lord.
I was like,
witness
this is
to
going to
him.
be so sick on the pod. You know what I mean?
You're ready for a story.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you're listening and it's ever fallen flat, you're not
It's
alone.
okay.
No.
It happened to Maureen just today.
Yeah.
Annette, how about you though? Have you had any horror stories of sharing your faith amongst your friends?
I have. Guys, whack out the violins. This is actually super intense. I remember I just grew up in a Christian family, really sheltered. I went to Christian schools. My parents were really strict. There was all of my life framework between the ages of 0 to 13. Christian. It was like you're Christian or you're just out there in the world and you're not a Christian. And we were coming to England, and England is known like as a country with Christian heritage. So I was like, oh cool, we'll just go to this Christian country where everyone is a Christian. And I came to school, and sometimes in England people will have been christened, or they'll be dedicated, or they'll go to church at Easter or Christmas. And so for them, they're like nominally Christian. I think that would be the phrasing, right? But obviously, remember, I'm 12 years old. I don't know these distinctions. I'd never know what a nominal Christian means. And, you know, I'm like, oh, if you say you're Christian, it means you love Jesus and like you go to church and you have a relationship with God. And I go to school, and it was a public school. I'd been going to a private school in South Africa. It just did not go well. I ended up having these crazy apologetics conversations as like a 12-year-old in a new country, just wanting to assimilate, make friends, belong, be loved. And I'm there having to defend why, you know, you're not going to go to hell, or like, does God hate gay people? Or like, you know, can I have an abortion? Will God hate me for having an abortion? Crazy, crazy big questions as a 12-year-old. And I just found it really hard. And I think from that first term in school, I just shut down and I rarely shared my faith with anyone. And I would do it from such like a closeted, scared space, because sometimes, I don't know if you guys find this, but I feel like if you're sharing your faith with people, if they know that you're a Christian, all of a sudden you're representing all of Christendom, of all Christians in all time. You're not talking about your faith today and who you are. You're like representing an entire group of people.
Yeah, it can feel like the stakes are
really so high,
which is unhelpful.
Yeah.
but nevertheless real, I think.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we know that one of the questions young adults are struggling with is, how can I share my faith and without losing my friends?
Yeah.
And it's a real question,
Yeah.
right? We've all got it wrong.
We've all been there. We've all got it wrong.
Yeah.
Which I think is beautiful, that we've all got, like, as in like 3 out of 3 people here have gotten it wrong. So I think that's just like, you're gonna get it wrong.
Yeah.
But
And
we're still
that's
here.
great.
Yeah.
We still love God.
Yeah. And
We'll still love
want to
people.
share
Trying
our
to get it
faith.
right.
And we still
You
have
know?
great friends
Yeah.
around us. So
Yeah.
it's not the end of the road if you
Oh,
have a bad
man.
moment.
It's so
Yeah.
true.
Maybe one day you get to tell it on a podcast.
Do you know what I mean? And be like, I failed, so you can too.
It'll all work out. But back to what you were saying, Tim, about you doing those surveys with people and how you got really good at having an argument and telling people why they were wrong. I actually find this a really interesting dynamic of trying to share your faith with people, because there's that inherent power dynamic and power play of, I have the right answer. The way that I live life is better and best. You are in the wrong. And I think actually that's what causes so much of like the heightened emotions and the defensiveness when we are chatting with our friends. And I think it's really subconscious. I don't think it's this overt thing, but I think it's playing on a deeper level where you're having this conversation with someone and actually they feel like you're judging them and you're saying how they live is lesser or wrong, which to an extent maybe we are as Christians, and maybe we need to find a different way of thinking about how to share our faith and talking about it.
Yeah, well, let me tell you a bit about my own journey and transition from thinking about evangelism in the way that I did it to more of that organic sharing faith reality that I'm trying to live into now. I think I thought that giving people who weren't Christians a chance to respond to the gospel meant creating road to Damascus moments. So think about what happens when Saul encounters Jesus. He's knocked off his horse. There's this blinding light. He hears the audible voice of Jesus reprimanding him. And then he's blinded for a few days while he waits for a Christian to come and sort him out. I was like, okay, that's what I've got to be doing.
Incredible
Let's
story.
do the equivalent of knocking people off horses. And I just think, for all the reasons I gave before, that was not the right approach in that moment for me with those people. And actually that's continued to be the case. So these days, I think much less in terms of the road to Damascus, much more in terms of the road to Emmaus, which is Luke 24. And so just to briefly recap the story, there's these couple of disciples walking from Jerusalem to a village called Emmaus. Jesus has been crucified and they've heard rumors that he's risen, but they don't know about it and they're not sure and they're kind of figuring it out as they go. As they're walking along, Jesus comes up alongside them and he asks them questions. What are you talking about as you walk along? And he's been walking with them, so he knows. And then they say, are you the only one who hasn't heard all these things that have been going on? Of course, he knows about them, they're about him. And Jesus says, what things? He's just inviting them to tell their own experience in their own words. And then they tell a bit more of the story. They open up about how they had hoped that this guy Jesus was going to be the one to redeem Israel. And then Jesus explains to them who he is on the basis of the scriptures. And he's quite provocative in that. He says how slow to believe you are, how foolish you are. And yet he continues to walk with them. And there must be something in the dynamic of that conversation that leaves them wanting more, not less. Again, that was what I got wrong. I left people wanting less, not more. Because Jesus goes to keep walking and the two disciples invite him in to have bread and wine with them. And then they go in and then Jesus breaks bread. Then they recognize him. Immediately he disappears. And then the two travelers say, were not our hearts burning within us as he talked with us on the road? And then they run all the way back 11 miles to Jerusalem.
To tell people everything.
To tell the others what's been going on. Just such a beautiful picture, a beautiful story about accompanying people, walking at their pace, asking questions, leaving them wanting more. It's all there. So that's more of the approach I'm taking. I could say more about that.
Road to Emmaus, less road to Damascus.
That's it. And I think that's helped me get around this power play thing. It's just,
nice.
and I guess also a footnote on that is to phrase it as if in the road to Damascus, I thought I was Jesus.
Right.
I was meant to be people knocking others off the horse.
Okay.
In the road to Emmaus, I'm just walking alongside and I'm trying to hear the voice of Jesus, who's also walking alongside us in that conversation.
So good.
And I'm trying to, for myself, discern where are the moments where my heart is burning within me and where might be the moments in the conversation where the hearts are burning of the people that I'm speaking to, we can lean into that.
That is so good.
Joining in
There's
with what
like
Jesus
a
is
relational
doing,
element there of like actually caring about the people and knowing them and asking them questions, and that's really good. That's really good.
So if I was to boil all of that down, and you can have a go at speaking in a minute.
Well, I don't think I need to.
Cis white man here. I think one of the beautiful things about doing this in that kind of way is that a reward is you get great relationships with people, and that helps me get around the power dynamic. It's not that if I invest in this person, I get a chance to share the gospel. It's if I invest in this person, I get a great relationship with this person, and there's a mutuality to it and a reciprocity to it, and that's how God designed us to live.
That's so good.
Okay, I'm gonna be quiet for a bit.
You're not allowed to talk ever again now, Tim.
So that was all I had to say.
That was great. That was really great. I don't know what to say now.
No, well, I was going to ask you about your journey to faith. And actually what your first kind of months, years as a Christian were like, and anything you wanted to add to the conversation, please feel free.
I would say, so I became a Christian when I was like 21, I would say 21, 22. I, knew of God, but only because I was like afraid to die. So I was like, yeah, sure, I believe in God. And then one day, because my friend, like, when I think about actually this conversation and I think about how she asked me, she was just so kind and so loving and just invited me and then just was and then invited me and then was, and then I invited myself, as in there was that thing of like, I knew she had always had a place for me, but she didn't overwhelm me with the invite. So anyways, so that was really beautiful. I then one day decided, okay, I'm going to go to church, met Jesus. That was it. Game over. 0 to 100. I wanted to serve. I wanted to tell everybody about Jesus. I was so intense, and I was intense as a human anyways. So then put Jesus in that. I was like, whoa. And then I just wanted to tell everyone about how good God was, because honestly, I was so overwhelmed by that encounter. That I was like, this is real, and so then I became just super intense. I would go to like every church thing possible. My family and friends thought I was in a cult. Like they were just like, this is what. So everything that I was like, I want to tell them about Jesus so they can know Jesus too. And I actually then in that. And again, it was real. It was passionate. It came from that place. So I wouldn't necessarily change the way I evangelized, because that was like, looking back, I was true to who I was. I was just a lot,
Sure.
But I think within that, I would share how good Jesus is, how much he loves you. But I actually became like a really bad family member, really bad friend. Like I was giving all my time to this thing, and actually church and serving and stuff. I was like a really sick server in church, but just not a good family member. So to tell my family about Jesus became pointless, because they couldn't see all the love that I was telling them. They couldn't see it play out. So figuring that out and having that realization, I feel like helped me
really vulnerable
in evangelizing. You know what I mean?
That's so true. That's so true. Like how you can be a good servant and be in church and be doing all the things, but then actually for the people that you're trying to witness to, you're just not showing up in a way that they can actually see all these things that you're harping on about. It reminds me of this quote, which Tim hates when I bring it up, but it's such a good quote, Tim. I'm sorry, I don't know who said it. The whole world doesn't know who said it, okay? But it says,
it was me.
At all times preach the gospel, and if necessary, use words. Anon.
You're giving that to me. Yeah. Okay. So I think it's getting at the right thing, which is that actually we share our faith as much in the way we live and the way we talk as much as the words that we say. That is a good emphasis, and actually I'd say even a corrective to probably an over emphasis on sharing faith being the only thing that really matters in the Christian life. I don't think it's the only thing that matters. I think we can model God's character when we're under pressure. We can make good work in our jobs. We can minister grace and love to the people around us, whether we see them regularly or it's just the bus driver that you interacted with.
So true. We can mold the
culture of your organization, be a force for good in the world. You can be a mouthpiece for truth and justice.
Come on now.
Challenging policies that are unfair, or making sure the right person gets the credit and the wrong person doesn't get the blame. And as part of that, we can be messengers for the gospel where we are.
They're almost like tools to bring that, you know what I mean?
Well, they are tools, but I wouldn't want to just instrumentalize them and say they are only valid because they get us to be a messenger for the gospel. I think it's a whole piece. And you see them all in the life of Jesus as well. Yes, of course, he just in who he was the gospel, so maybe that's okay.
But I think that quote is so necessary, because what happens to the person who has invited their colleague to the Alpha course, who's told people about the church's Christmas carol service, no one's come, and he's exhausted his invites? What then? How's that person going to share their faith? I think living a life that models godly character, that exhibits all those qualities we just spoke about, that's how you end up being a witness. And people see something about your life where they're like, oh, something's different about this person. Because I remember we had someone come and do a workshop here at LICC, and he was a teacher, and he shared how his pet peeve was when he found out one of his colleagues was a Christian, because they would stay up all night prepping the sermon that they were going to do for the kids team on Sunday morning. They would put in loads of hours. They would kind of leave work on Friday early. They would kind of work on it sometimes when they were like in the staff room, but then they were never prepared for their own internal staff meetings that would happen on a Thursday. And he was just like, your witness is pointless, because actually the thing that people are relying on you to be good at, you're just not. So why would I care about you saying you go to church on Sunday? Because actually you're an annoying person to work with.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way of thinking about it, and it fits with a corrective that I've had to get my head around, which is when we read the New Testament, often we're inspired by and we're told stories about the apostles and Jesus himself and how courageous and bold they were. And what I realized was, actually, I'm not an apostle. I'm more like one of the people in one of the churches that the apostles are writing to. And what's the advice given to them? 1 Thessalonians 4, make it your business to lead a quiet life. Get on with your work so that you might win the respect of people. Or Colossians 4, 5 and 6, make the most of every opportunity. Let your conversations be full of grace, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how to answer everyone.
So true.
I think it's a picture of a life that's much more holistic, a lot more patient, less urgent and hurried around this sharing our faith piece that can often get us into trouble. One that's just much more sustainable, particularly when we're in these longer term relationships with friends and family, where the road to Damascus approach just doesn't work. Yeah.
Does this mean I have a right to be really annoyed at the people who are on the streets with like a boombox and a mic, and it makes me cringe inside that I'm also a Christian, like they are a Christian? You know who I'm talking about, guys. I'm on your team. You know, when they're on the streets, like they're on Oxford Circus sometimes at the end of the day. And I'll just be brutally honest, I cringe so hard. They're there like yelling hellfire and brimstone, and I'm just like, I don't know who's listening, and I don't know if this is gonna get anything across to people, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys have a different perspective.
Yeah, I feel like for me, you'll never catch me on, well, never say never, do you know what I mean? But my style necessarily would not be to stand in the corner and shout at somebody, whatever. However, my style, I've realized, with Christians, like everyone, and with life, everyone's different. God has created us all. Like he has created us all. Like, so he's created us all very intentionally and very differently. And what I'm learning in my 33 years of life,
so young,
is it, you know what I mean? Is that everyone's different. So that means there's different ways of sharing your faith. There's different ways of receiving things. There's different ways of being. So somebody might need shout from somebody.
Oh gosh.
Like that you just never know. Like, you know, somebody might need to be shouted like, you are loved. And somebody might run from that as well. You know, whereas somebody might just need that conversation, just like, hey, like, how you doing?
I have a friend in our church. I don't know his whole story. He's a very quiet guy. He's never told me the whole story, but I know for a fact that an encounter with a street preacher dramatically changed the course.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and actually, like, to be fair, there's been people, and I'll never forget this. There is, and I won't say names, but there's a guy that used to go to a church that I was part of, and he would shout at people on the street or whatever. But I remember when I was not a Christian, and my friend Fadila, I knew the idea of church. I knew it was there.
Yeah.
He was on the street. I was handing out leaflets because I had a weird job or whatever. I was handing out leaflets. I was really upset. And he came over and chatted to me. And he invited me into some shop that he owned or whatever. And he was like, talked about the church that he was part of. And I remember being like, my friend goes to that church. Oh my goodness, could this be from God? Like, honestly.
Oh, wow.
Like, I wouldn't say I got saved from a street preacher, but I would say, like,
it was part of the
it was
journey.
something that I remember. So when people say something about him, I'm like, no, do you know what? That works for someone. Now, does it also frustrate me because you're shouting sin and sin and sin at people, and that's not going to help? Yeah, it does. However, if you're being truly you, that's where I think evangelism, it comes down to. Sorry to interrupt this conversation, but just real quick, if you have a moment, like, subscribe, comment, engage. If you're watching, if you're listening, still do the same thing. Like, subscribe, comment, engage. We love it. If we want to continue to do these things for free for you, then please, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment. Thanks. If your motives, do you know what I mean? Like, if you're doing it to get a little tick or to be like, I'm such a sick Christian, I know all my Bible, then I just don't think that's what we're meant to do. I think we're meant to have a relationship with God, like, find truly who we are in God. So then we can go out from that and go, do you know what? Like, I know what this has done in my life. I know who God is. I know what he's done in my life. I want that so badly for you. And if I'm walking with God and I'm listening to the Holy Spirit, then it's like, okay, maybe this is just conversation.
I've got a story about that.
You know, go on then.
Please share the story. Go on.
But it is a true story. So Joy is an 11-year-old girl in Southall, which is part of London that's very multicultural. In fact, Southall station stop has Southall written in, I can't remember the language, Urdu or something underneath. Anyway, that's how multicultural it is. Joy goes to a church. She's white, but her school and her schoolmates are super multicultural. And at a service at the church, when they were asking different people to come up and share how they share their faith in their own way, Joy was asked, Joy, how do you talk about Jesus with your friends at school? And Joy said,
come on.
I ask my friends what they like about their God, and then they ask me what I like about mine.
That's really cool.
And I think that's such a beautiful story because there's curiosity there, genuine interest in friends. It's doing it in a way that's natural to her. That's who Joy is. She's an inquisitive, lovely person. And it's coming from a place of, I like these things about my God. I'm not doing this because I feel shamed or into sharing my faith or guilty about not doing it or ticking a box or trying to be anyone else that I'm not. It's just who she was, and she was in touch with why knowing God was a good thing, and she wanted to have conversations about that. So I think we can all think about that. Like,
I love that.
What do I like about my God? Okay, that's a good place to start. Let's start there, and we can all come up with reasons.
Oh, that's so good. Maureen, it reminds me of something you said earlier where you were like, I never want to argue about how good my God is. Once I'm in an argument with someone, I've lost. Yeah.
As in, that is probably one of my, like, pet peeves, I would say, is that when, and I've been there, you know what I mean? When I've tried to argue, like, in a conversation about God, I've tried to argue with somebody to say, no, God's real. Like, if I start to argue, then I know immediately I've lost. And I've actually probably hindered that, like, wherever they are in their walk with coming to know God. I've probably brought them right back to the start, you know, from me trying to defend. Like, God doesn't need us to defend him, you know? So I think my biggest, I would say, weapon, would you call it, or whatever, in a conversation with somebody is I don't know.
Yeah.
Because most of the time I probably don't know. Because the questions that people are asking me, I'm asking God as well, you know, because they are tough questions.
Yeah.
Most of us are, you know, like, why does bad things happen?
Yeah.
I don't know.
We've all got those questions.
I don't.
We've all got those questions.
As Christians, we feel like we need to defend that or try and argue. I don't know. But what I do know is that God changed my life, and I'm happier and I'm more peaceful.
Wow.
And you know, I don't have this eating disorder anymore. I don't have the. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm more confident. So I think that's where testimony massively comes into play.
Yeah.
And I don't know, or even like, I don't know. I'm just the kind of person that, like, I don't remember things. Like, I can study my Bible because it's important. Like, we're Christians, we read our Bible. But I just, like, I'll know one thing one week, and then the next week I'll just be like, I don't really, you know what I mean? Like, whereas, like, I think at one point in my life, I was so nervous to talk to somebody because I was afraid that they'd know more of their Bible than I would, and they're not even a Christian. And then, well, they wouldn't believe that I'm a Christian. So then I wouldn't even enter the conversation. Like, do you know what I mean? Whereas I think, I don't know, it's fine. I'll go check. Do you know what I mean? I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, I think really allowing ourselves to enter into the questions that our friends are asking is really important as well. Actually, that's the empathy piece. That's where the coming alongside people, road to Emmaus style, rather than coming at people, road to Damascus style, really helps as well. Because these are real questions. We all have to encounter suffering and make sense of that in one way or another. And it just starts from a much more humble posture.
Yeah.
And a posture of, like, are we willing to do that long road? You know what I mean? Like, because we're probably not half the time.
Yeah.
Like, or, oh my goodness. I was thinking about this earlier on. So, because I'm just showing you all of my failures. So, you know.
Thank you. We appreciate the vulnerability.
You know what I mean? No, but for real. You know, I'll invite my colleague to church. But then when they come to know God, will I hang out with them in church? Am I willing for my bubble to be expanded? Do you know what I mean? Because sometimes it's like, but no, I got my thing to do on Sunday, but you can't hang out with me. But you can come to church so you can meet God. Do you know what I mean?
So
like, it's actually mad.
Yeah.
Like, that's my, anyways.
It's a good point. It's such a good point of, like, would you invite them into your friendship group? What if they're awkward? But
do you know what I mean?
You invited them to church anyways because you wanted to tick that Christian box. Yeah.
But am I willing to actually then do that
journeying
long
with
journey
them?
with
I think the long view is really important as well. I like 2 Peter 3:9 where it says God is not being slow with you, even though you think it's slow, as some understand slowness, but he is patient with you, not wanting anyone to perish but everyone to come to repentance. So it's in God's very nature, it's a fruit of the Spirit as well, to be patient with people. Well, hold on a second, I've never heard sharing faith talked about like that.
With patience,
but I think that has to be true if we want to share Jesus in Jesus-like ways. Let's be patient.
Come on, somebody. Well, so that's a really great way to talk about any practical next steps for someone, do you think?
I've got some, but do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. As in a practical step of sharing your faith.
Sharing the faith
Without losing your friends.
I think
if someone
without
loses a
losing your
friend,
friend.
they're getting their money back in this episode.
Well, I would challenge that and say, you know, if you're being truly honest and sharing what you love, and you're, you know, kind and gentle and caring to the other person, and they don't love it and they're not friends with you, I would challenge that friendship, if I'm being completely honest at the start. But that's another series in itself.
Another episode coming,
you know
season 3. Don't worry.
When to cut off your friends.
You know,
I hear what you're saying. If your friendship can't take you being
a bit
real,
of rest, then
is that the kind of friendship you want to be invested in?
Do you know what I mean? If you're literally...
That's not an excuse
it's not.
to be an idiot. But
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There is a
We do
fine
know what
line
you
between
mean.
that.
We do know what you
There
mean.
is.
We do
You
know
know,
what
not
you
to
mean.
cut off all your non-Christian friends. You should have non-Christian friends. But yeah, I would say, like, super practical, because I'm a practical person, is literally like that. I feel we talked about this, you know, are you kind of going to church, first of all, I guess? Like, are you going to church so that you can then say, not so that you can say, but an easy thing to do is like, what do you do on the weekend? Oh, what am I doing on the weekend? I'm going to church. Oh, what your church? Oh, okay. Beautiful conversation. You don't even need to invite them. Just have a conversation. And then you can maybe invite, maybe invite them. And then I would say, like, the main thing, which sounds so simple, but like, do you have a relationship with God? Like legit, like what is your relationship with God about? Are you seeking him? Are you seeking to become more like him? Are you doing that? Because as you do that, then your real actual self, not this Christian that you think you need to be to share your faith. Because again, some people will share it super intensely because they're intense, and that's amazing. Some people will share it super chill, and that's amazing because that's them. And I think that for me, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Like
sharing a way that's authentic for you.
To you. And the only way really to do that is, you know, your quiet place with God, really.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then you can actually ask God, like, do you know what I mean? God, give me the opportunity to talk to somebody. Like, I remember we did that in church. Like, every Sunday, we used to like think of the one person we were gonna share our faith with and pray for opportunity to chat to them. And that was massive, you know? So like little practical things like that, I would
That's
say.
great. That's a great prayer to pray.
Really great prayer.
Yeah, for God to give you opportunities. And then what you'll find is you have to start praying for the courage to take
Do you know
them.
what I
to take the
mean?
opportunity.
Yeah.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Like, for
We've all
sure.
experienced it.
Pray for the courage that I'll actually say something.
Yeah. I'd say 3 things that I've really learned, 3 principles. One I've already talked about a lot, which is be present with people.
Yeah.
Great.
Just get into their lives and let them come into your life. Just do relationship well together. And that is its own reward. It's just a great thing. That's who God made us to be. We're meant to love our neighbours as we love ourselves. So let's just do that and get on with it. So be present with people. Second thing, be curious in conversations. Ask loads of questions.
Be a joy.
You just gave, exactly,
Be
a
a
couple of
joy.
examples. As Joy gave her examples as well. There's lots of good questions we can ask people. Anything from just, you know, what did you make of the latest Mission Impossible film? And then asking them why. Why did you think that? What did you enjoy about it? Then suddenly you're into a good conversation with people and just see where your curiosity leads. All
That's
the way
great.
through to if someone's dealing with something particularly challenging, here's a great question from Christian Medical Fellowship. Do you have a faith that helps you in times like this?
Great.
Just another little question. I like collecting questions.
That's so
I think the more we
good.
can collect, the more ready we'll be to ask them.
So good. I feel like that is so good. Sorry.
It's a great question.
No, but it's a great tool to go like, oh, actually on my notes app, actually writing down questions.
Yeah.
Because again, not to be, but we're on our phone all the time.
Yeah.
So we forget how to connect with people.
Yeah.
And it's okay to realize I forget how to connect with people.
Yeah, I
How do
forgot how to have a
actually
conversation. Yeah.
Let me go through these questions. That's so great.
Collect questions.
And really okay.
Yeah.
That's
Be a
really
curator
good.
of questions.
Yeah.
And then follow your curiosity. So
That's
be
really
present
good.
with people, be curious in your conversations, and then thirdly, be ready with reasons. So questions will come to you. Why are you a Christian? Why do you believe that? Or even some of those more difficult questions that we're more afraid of, like Annette, the ones you were asked in the playground.
Gosh,
I think
12-year-old me.
Something that's helped me calm down a bit on that front is that actually I don't necessarily have to have an answer to every difficult philosophical or kind of like real world suffering question that might be coming at me, whether it's the sexuality one or the science one or the suffering one. Actually, if I'm present with people and I've been curious, I've probably got a rough idea of the kind of question that my friend might ask me. And then my role, I think, is to think through on their behalf, as if I were them, again, entering into their story, being empathetic. Okay, why would I be asking this question? And then how might I go about responding to it? And I think really
more like
the
what's
best
the question
answer,
behind the question.
So getting to the questions behind the question, because if someone is asking why does God allow suffering, it might be because their mum's got cancer. So you don't want to answer that question on a heady intellectual level.
So
you need to enter into that person's story and so on and so on. You can figure out all the other contexts that those kinds of questions come from. But I think something I've been reflecting on is how actually all of those difficult apologetics-y style questions that we're afraid of are just variations on only one question. There's actually only one difficult, even though it's not that difficult, apologetics question you need to have an answer to, which is God good?
Wow.
Is God good for gay people? Is God good even though my mum's got cancer? Is God good even though I want to pursue a career in science or bioevolution or something like that? Or, fill in the gaps. And so that comes back to our own testimony. As you shared, Maureen, like, I know why God is good. I have experienced his goodness. And that gives me reason to hope. And that's a place to answer those difficult questions from. That's a place that I can start thinking through my own reasons as to why I'm a Christian. So be present with people, be curious in conversations, be ready with reasons, and you can share your faith without losing your friends.
So good. So
Great.
good. I feel like we should just end it there. That's like mic drop moment. That was so good.
Just throw it.
It's too expensive.
It's too expensive. But before we wrap it up, Maureen, you shared so vulnerably something a bit earlier before we pressed record, where you were like, actually, sometimes like it's hard to trust God and to want to share your faith with people because your life doesn't look amazing, and so people would be like, why should I believe you or follow you or trust what you're saying? And I thought that was amazing. Please share that with people.
If we can edit this so like, you know, we just go back to your things, that'd be great. I know we can't. So long story short, me and my husband, we used to be pastors. We thought like that was it, that was the job. We loved it, that was our passion. And then basically we quit. Felt like we were following God. And you know, again, even before that, being pastor, like, you know, we were struggling in London, like, do you know what I mean? But we were like, to our family and friends, we were like, no, but like, God is so good, but our life looks cool. And then we did this massive jump, and you know, and you're like, okay, yeah, God told us to do that. And then you're like, and then this. And we're still waiting on this, to be honest. So I feel like, you know, there's so many things that our life it doesn't look good. Do you know what I mean? So if I said to my brother, for example, I say, oh yeah, no, but like God is good. His life looks better than mine and he doesn't believe in God. So what do I have? So for me, that's been the most frustrating part of kind of like, how am I meant to evangelize? How am I meant to do this when like my life doesn't look like all this, like, oh yeah, like it's good, you know? And that's been really difficult. That's been like crying out to God, being like, yeah, but God, like what, you know?
Why do I feel like you led us to quit our jobs when actually it's been really
you know,
tough?
But then I've actually got to go back to like, and this is where I feel like, you know, your foundations of like, okay, do you have a relationship with God? Do you know God? Because you'll go back to that, you know? And I'm like,
So
yeah,
true.
okay, I do. Do I think God is good? Yes, I do.
Amen.
Does this suck? Yes, it does. But I'll, you know, and on the flip side, going back to kind of, you know, I was not a great family member, whereas I feel like reflection, and now I'm trying to be the best family member I can be. Now I'm trying to be the best friend I can be.
That's so good.
Because I realized that it's not just one thing. It's actually how my life looks
it's your
in that
whole
way.
life,
but still, I guess, you know, again, not to have an answer of like, oh, but well, no, my answer is God is good, and that's my answer.
Amen.
You know,
Amen.
Does my brother still think my life probably doesn't look great? Yeah, probably. But only God knows how that's going to pan out. Do you know what I mean? And how I can talk to him, and you know, I don't know.
But I like the vulnerability and the honesty in that, where you don't have to be put together and you don't have to have everything being amazing. The fact that you still choose to believe in God, I think there is something to that. And I think so often we can want to curate our personalities as like the perfect Christian person in order to then be like, you should do what I'm doing, so your life will be like mine and you won't have any problems or everything will be fine. But that's not life as I know it. And I'm hoping you guys are also normal and you also face problems. I think bringing our friends alongside us into those problems, but modeling a different way to respond, or modeling how God can be with us in that, I think is still such a powerful witness, and is another way that you can share your faith without losing your friends. And you're sharing your faith in a more raw way as well, an unfiltered way, which I think is just a more powerful witness. But yeah. I love it. Such a good conversation. I could carry on chatting to you guys forever and ever and ever. Any last burning things to share, to add? Everyone's squinting thoughtfully.
Yeah. God loves you.
Gotta end it there. Yeah.
Can't say any more than that.
Can't say any more than that. God loves you. Guys, that was season 2 of Unscripted. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope these conversations have blessed you. We will see you on the flip side. Goodbye.